dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Macy Marie. A man wanted in connection with a Perry County murder this morning is on the run. Police are looking for this man. His name's Anthony Lewis. There is a warrant out for his arrest. 37-year-old Marlena Holland was found dead in the Bobby Davis Park this morning, and Lewis is the main suspect. WYMT's Connor James talked with police, and he has more on how the woman died and the ongoing search for Lewis.
The call came in around 6 Sunday morning.
They was concerned that the female had been killed or was hurt seriously or something, and they give us this general area of where to look.
That area being the Bobby Davis Park. 37-year-old Marlena Holland had not come back to a homeless shelter in Hazard after being out with this man, Anthony Lewis.
Was able to locate the victim, a 37-year-old female who had apparently been beaten to death.
Lewis left that shelter, the Hope House in Hazard, early in the morning, and he's on the run. He has a previous criminal history, including being involved in the killing of a Perry County man back in 1992.
Well, basically, we have two crime scenes this morning. We have the park itself, where the body is located, and then we have the Hope House, where there's some evidence in that area as well.
That evidence being Lewis's clothing. Police say he was covered in blood.
He is considered to be dangerous.
Police do not know where Lewis is. We do know he is originally from Leslie County.
And we've notified Kentucky State Police and surrounding counties in southeast Kentucky to be on the lookout for this individual.
Authorities from multiple agencies are searching in and out of the county. In Perry County, Connor James, WYMT Mountain News.
And if you have any information on where Lewis might be, you're asked to call the Hazard Police Department. That number is 606-436-2222. And like we mentioned, we are learning much more about Lewis's history today. He does have a previous criminal record. We've learned Lewis was previously convicted in the kidnapping and victim death in 1995. The crime happened in December of 1992, and he and another man who you see here, James Smith, were accused of robbing, kidnapping, and killing Randall Bentley. During the trial, Lewis was already serving time in Eddyville's prison. Records show he faced multiple robbery offenses. We could learn new details tomorrow about the disappearance and death of Savannah Spurlock. The man charged in connection with the case is due in court for a preliminary hearing. David Sparks was arrested earlier this week. He's charged with tampering with physical evidence and abuse of a corpse. Police say they found Spurlock's remains on a property in Garrett County owned by his family. Spurlock had been missing since early January. Garrett Weimer explains how her family is still hoping for more answers in her death.
Friends and family say tip boxes they put up last month around Garrett County are still up if anyone knows anything more, and their anonymous online tip line is also still open. They say the arrest of David Sparks in connection with the case is one step toward closure after Savannah's body was found last week.
We know that Savannah has not been suffering all of this time. She has been cradled in the arms of our great Savior, Jesus Christ. As hard as the last 6 months have been, the truth of what happened that night in January is going to be even more painful.
As the journey now takes another turn, Hudsonville Honey, based in Richmond, is making these Justice for Savannah t-shirts at the request of Spurlock's friends. Proceeds from the sales will go to Spurlock's family. They still have a lot of questions, and they know the answers won't be easy as the long road begins in the justice system.
And I've said from day one that somebody that lived in that house where she was last seen had to know what happened to Savannah Spurlock, bottom line, without question.
David Sparks was arraigned last week. A not guilty plea was entered for him, and the judge assigned him a public defender. So far, the only arrest. Right now, we don't know if any more arrests or charges could come soon. Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
Sparks' hearing is scheduled for 9 tomorrow morning in Garrett County District Court. Visitation for Savannah Spurlock is from 5 to 9 Tuesday night at Oldham Roberts and Powell Funeral Home in Richmond. Funeral and burial services are being kept private for the family. Louisville Metro Police arrested a woman after they say she tried to kill a puppy. Police say Tanisha Pearson beat a puppy that did not belong to her. Several witnesses say they saw Pearson pick up a small dog and strike it with a closed fist before picking it up by the throat and slamming it onto the concrete. She allegedly also threatened to kill the owner of the dog while officers were on scene. Pearson is charged with torturing a dog.
Another day featuring mostly sunny skies across the mountains and a few spotty showers and thunderstorms. Right now, most of us are dry, and we're seeing just a few fair weather cumulus clouds on the Weather Service cam over at Jackson. You can see a pretty nice evening taking shape across most of the mountains. We are tracking a few isolated hit or miss storms, though. There is one just to the east of Jackson over into portions of Wolfe County and over in McGoffin County now, just to the southwest of Salyersville and west of Royalton. Also some thunderstorms back up towards Bath and Montgomery counties over towards Moorhead, and that thunderstorm extending back towards Mount Sterling. Some heavy rain, a little bit of lightning associated with that storm. Those should die down over the next couple of hours. Temperatures running into the upper 80s except down in Williamsburg. We had a few showers down there earlier. That helped to cool the temperatures off to the upper 70s. Factor in the humidity for most of us, near 90. So rinse and repeat for what we've seen the last couple of days, and that trend is going to continue through the forecast. Remember, you can always find the latest forecast on the WYMT weather app, available on iOS and Google devices and Android devices, and you can see that we go down into the 60s by early tomorrow morning. Watch out for a little patchy dense fog, and the forecast continues to wait for Barry and when it'll bring rain to our region. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Shane. And this weekend, flooding's on the minds of many whose homes are along the Louisiana coastline, including a Kentucky native now living outside New Orleans. Jennifer Collins is originally from Pikeville, and for the last 2 decades, she's called the suburbs of New Orleans home. She's seen a fair amount of wind and rain, but says so far, Barry has not been so bad.
Oh, I've dealt with worse before. I went through Katrina.
And Barry could force us to pay more for a gallon of gas. The storm has caused major refineries to shut down, likely leading to some supplies problems. Over in Bell County, deputies say 2 people were taken to the hospital after a single vehicle crash on US 25 this afternoon. The crash closed the southbound lane for more than an hour, and several departments worked to clear the roadway. We do not know the extent of the injuries or the names of those involved. The Pulaski County Sheriff issued a golden alert for a missing man from Somerset. The sheriff needs your help finding Bobby Wood, who was reported missing from his home on Cliffside Drive around 5 a.m. today. Officials believe Wood walked away from his home and may have been disoriented and confused. The nonprofit With Love from Harlan posted on Facebook about an opportunity for Black Jewel miners to get help with their utility bills. The nonprofit announced that Father Jim Schicko will be at Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Harlan tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. and the father will pay 1 electric bill per family as long as he has the funds. A new study by researchers at the University of Kentucky say where you live could impact your mental health. They found those living in rural areas have a higher rate of suicide than in urban areas, and there's several reasons why. Chelsea Jones talked with one of the researchers who explains what needs to change.
UK researchers are unraveling the mysteries behind suicide.
One of the things that I had observed and read about recently is the fact that rural Americans have a much higher rate of suicide than urban Americans.
Dr. Ty Borders, a social scientist, explains recent findings in a national study examining trends in suicide ideation, planning, and attempts.
And there is quite a bit of evidence that persons who are unemployed, who are less educated, that they have a greater likelihood of actually committing suicide.
Researchers say these statistics shed light on how to help people living in rural communities, especially here in Kentucky.
These are persons, again, who are more likely to work in industries nationally, such as logging, agriculture, mining, such as coal mining. And when these jobs go away, they just may not have other things that they can do, unfortunately.
And it doesn't help that rural communities often lack adequate resources to health care.
There are fewer mental health care providers, such as psychiatrists, social workers, psychologists.
Although the national study focused on suicide, he says it points to another problem, Kentucky's opioid epidemic.
If we better tackle mental health problems, we will reduce the issue and the problem of drug abuse, no doubt.
In Lexington, Chelsea Jones, WKYT.
A nonprofit group in Floyd County is dedicating their free time to one state park. Volunteers and friends of Jenny Wiley began working this morning on cleaning trails and putting out garbage cans along Dewey Lake. Friends of Jenny Wiley President Brittany Ronham says keeping the lake and the surrounding areas clean is key to preserving the natural wildlife.
This is our community, this is our area. The state park is right in our backyard. We want to make sure those coming to visit and those who live here are being able to utilize this beautiful state park.
The group also cleans the lake by boat. Ronham says the group meets on the last Wednesday of every month. Around 75 people are members of that organization. And if you'd like to join, you can head over to our website where we will have more information tonight on how you can become part of that. A new report says West Virginia's maple syrup production has nearly doubled in the past year. That's according to the West Virginia Department of Agriculture and U.S. Department of Agriculture. Maple syrup production increased from 8,000 gallons in 2018 to 14,000 gallons during this year's season. New statues of astronaut Neil Armstrong have been unveiled and an education center has been dedicated in his name as his Ohio hometown continues celebrating its native son's history-making moon mission 50 years ago this month. That official anniversary date is on the 20th of this month. A celebration of the moon landing, which had already began, continues through July 21st in Ohio. And still to come on Mountain News Weekend Edition. We're learning more about a power outage that left thousands in the dark